Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Stella Herself podcast. As always, thank you so much for tuning in this week. If you're a new listener, welcome. If you're a TBT OG listener, welcome back. Real tea talk. Now that I have my peppermint tea. A little hungover today, but it was definitely worth it. Watching football playoffs on Sunday, and I had a really great Sunday fun day. Of course, as soon as I start recording, there's noises, my nose gets itchy, and I noticed this little thing. I had to get my thermostat fixed, and now I'm just noticing they clipped something onto one of the vents, and I'm like, is this a camera? No, it doesn't look like a camera, but just like, I just noticed that. Wow. Anyway, as always, don't forget to screenshot this or take an aesthetic pic or boomerang of you listening on your TV or watching on your TV and post it to your story and tag me so I can repost. Also, y'all, exciting announcement, and this isn't new to a lot of you, but I didn't announce it in last week's episode because it wasn't of existence yet, but I do have a Discord server. If you don't know what Discord is, I honestly didn't until I had to use it when I was working with this app, and they had all the creators on a Discord, and I had never heard of it before, but I don't even know how to describe it, and I don't want to get bullied by like the gaming community. Not that like anyone, I mean, if you're in the gaming community and you're listening to a Stella podcast, like that's dope, but it's basically like mine, at least, is very much group chat vibes. Sonia gave me the idea of starting one just for like the OGs. And it was like a great idea. I literally would have never thought about this before, but we just chat on there. People give each other advice. We like check in. If I post a podcast or something, I'll announce it in there. I've been posting my books. It's just like a really great community, and it's just nice to like be able to kind of check in with people throughout the day, like like-minded people. I think it's pretty much all girls. There's a couple gays on there, but I'm just so grateful for those vibes, because when I made it, I was kind of scared that like my, no offense, creepy male audience would join. I mean, there's, bros, dudes that subscribe, follow me, and, genuinely enjoy the content. And then there's, people that are just there to be weird and creepy. Part of why I don't really love going live on Instagram, I'd rather go live on TikTok, is just because there's way more creepy guys. But this is just such a safe space, and it just is really great. So I'll link it down below if you haven't joined. But yeah, it's just like cute. People were giving each other advice. It was just very much community vibes, and I feel like that's something I have definitely been needing. And it's perfect with this season of Aquarius, all about community and like the greater collective. But yeah, I just feel like for a lot of January, and I mean, I'm sure we all can relate just throughout the whole pandemic, like just feeling very isolated and like alone and just lonely, and it's not a good feeling. Like I will just get so in my head, and I just feel like my anxiety gets so much worse when I feel like that, because there's one thing to have your alone time, or like to just prefer being alone most of the time, and like but it's like a healthy thing. But then there's a difference between that and then like literally feeling isolated, or just like it's off balance, So that's part of why I was like very excited to go out this weekend and see some friends and just like be around other people, So let me know if you can relate. But yeah, I also went to Smorgasburg, which, if you don't know what that is, it actually started in Brooklyn, but it's like this food market, and they have one in downtown LA, and it was so nice. Like I hadn't been since before the pandemic, because they do have a lot of vegan vendors. So I remember Sonia and I went there a couple times, I think. But yeah, it's always been bomb. I did get there kind of late, so there was a couple things that were sold out that I didn't get to try. Like there was this juice place I really wanted to try. Me and my friend really wanted this juice, and they were like, "We're sold out." So we got these like mango. There was like a mango aid and then like a blueberry aid, and I expected like refreshing, almost like lemonade vibes. Bro, it literally tasted like someone poured just like simple syrup with Sprite and like mango flavor. Like it was so weird. Low-key, added Casamigos to it later, and it was fire. But like ew, because I just don't drink soda like that, you know? And it was so overly sweet, especially at first, because like the syrup, I don't even know what it was, but it was kind of triggering. Not to misuse that word, so sorry. But yeah, also quick like rant just while we're on the topic of like my weekend, I guess. And I didn't plan to talk about this, but it is kind of like a greater issue. Like I should have made this a main topic and like research stuff and statistics and stuff. But I can just say from personal experience, like, bro, it's so annoying when you're talking to a guy or you're interested in a guy and like because you're pretty, because they're attracted to you or because you're confident, they just see that as a threat. Like, so for example, I was at this bar and I had like peeped this guy. He was like cute, like I guess cute. I don't know. I wouldn't really say cute, but you know, he was tall. I was like looking at him and we like get to talking and he's cool, but like as the conversation goes on, he's just being very much like, you know, that vibe where they're just so rude and like kind of just assuming that you're like a hoe or like, oh, you fucked like not that he literally said, oh, you fucked everybody in LA, but like it was like that type of vibe. And he was like, oh, like look at all the guys in here that are looking at you, like what made you want to talk to me? And it's just like such a turnoff, bro. It's like, especially when the fact is I am here talking to you, like it just shows so much insecurity. And also just that whole concept of like a woman's worth is like always tied to her proximity to men or like the type of proximity she has to men, like whether or not you're a wife or like a hoe. And like it's like because people are giving me attention or guys are looking at me, somehow that means something about me and my character instead of like on them, you know? And when really it says more about the dudes, but because you're insecure that I'm getting attention from other guys, like you're just gonna blame me for that. And it's like, bro, first of all, I just met you. I don't owe you shit. Like this is just turning me off from wanting to get to know you further. And also like, it's not like I'm over here entertaining these other guys even, so which like I would be allowed to do because I literally just met you and like I don't owe you shit, like you're not my boyfriend. But it's just like a bit horrifying. So let me know if you've ever experienced that. My method of dealing with it these days at least is to just be like, that's disrespectful, and just like call them out on it, because I'm not gonna try to flatter your ego. I'm not gonna play along with it. Like, I'm not gonna, I don't know, just, no, stop. Like, shut up. Like, you're being rude. You're being disrespectful. And it's just, like, annoying. Like, stop talking to me. So, yeah. Luckily, he left. He hopefully got the vibe. But yeah, it's just so, it's like, and also just people assume so much by like looking at you. Like, sorry, like popping sometimes, okay? Like, yes, I did look good. Ass was out in a bodysuit. Like, I looked popping, but like, little do you know, like in my day-to-day life, I'm just going to the library and like, you know, recording a Stella podcast. Like, I'm not, he was like, oh, like, are you a singer? Like, I just know, like, and then he was like, have you ever been to Chris Brown's house? Okay, that was like kind of funny because there's this like, I mean, it's like pretty actually horrible, but there's like this thing where it's like, oh, if she lives in LA and she's been to Chris Brown's house, like that's when you know what type of girl she is. Cause like, I guess Chris Brown has like parties and stuff. Bitch. I mean, that was like kind of funny that he asked me that just cause I knew the reference, but like I did not laugh. Anyway, so there was that. Super fucking annoying. Ew, guys just ruining my fucking vibe. I had a great time, but you know, just there was another instance where I was trying to record this TikTok and now I'm not even gonna be able to record the TikTok because it's already past the trend. There's already a new episode of Euphoria out. But you know the TikTok sound, or like even just the part from Euphoria where I mean, I'm not going to say the characters in case you haven't watched it, so this isn't a spoiler, but it's basically like, I'm confused, man. You're confused. I'm fucking confused. And I wanted to do like when you want to have a wholesome weekend, but you end up at the bar. And it was going to be so cute and funny. And we were all ready to film it, literally finger on the record button. And this guy interrupted us and started talking to us. And like, I wasn't mad because he wasn't annoying or anything. Like, he actually ended up being cool and just like a bro, like a friend to us. But I still never got my TikTok. And for that, I resent him. Because then it got dark and it just, the vibes were off. And just like, well, you just really can't win it out. Anyway, moving on from that, let me know how your weekend was. But yeah, I really think, you know, segue alert, for this Aquarius season, we should really, as much as possible, focus on community, on spending time with people, you know, that serve a good purpose in our lives, and not in like a usury way, but just like making the effort to connect with people and like just even being around other people, like not even necessarily friends or anything, but even things like just like when I've been going to read my book somewhere in public or something, it's like, oh, I feel normal. Which is funny because it's just like interesting when you always think of yourself as like more of an introvert, or like, oh, I like my alone time, but then it's like, oh, I actually need to be around people to just like feel normal. Like, I literally am reset. Like, I'm like already, even though I was kind of hungover, I feel like that anxiety gone, because I'm like, not saying you have to drink and go out to experience that, but like, you know, when you're just around people, the vibes are good. It's just like, yeah. So, astrology update. Y'all know in the last episode we talked about Aquarius season. So it is full Aquarius season now. Not that it wasn't before, but now we're like right in the thick of it. And this week was a really big week in astrology. Let me know if y'all feel different or like lighter. It might take a couple weeks because technically there's still like retrograde shadow periods and whatnot. But I'm pleased to announce Venus retrograde is over and Mercury retrograde is over this week. It's over the day this podcast is going up on Thursday. So thank God. I wrote it down on my calendar, thank God, because I just kept getting confused. And like, yeah, but this is just like amazing. Bro, the weight lifted. Seriously, I feel it. Oh, it's just like so much better. So I wanted to talk about that. Talk about these articles my mom actually sent me. And especially in this first one, this is from mooncircles.com, by the way, and I will link it down below if you want to read the whole article. But this is the same article I talked about at the beginning of Venus retrograde. I think I probably mentioned it in December. I don't think it was end of November, but sometime around then. Like the 40 days of transformation and just like how you can really get the most out of your Venus retrograde. So these were some reflection questions. So I'm just going to read them and feel free to like pause and write them down so you can like journal about them later or think about them later, whatever. So number 1, what were your intentions for the retrograde? Think back to December 19th, the retrograde station. Number 2, where or how did you transform? In what ways have you changed since the retrograde launched? Changes may be intended or unintended. Measure your transformed self as the you that you were during the week of January 29th, the direct station. So that compared to like mid-December. During your 40... that kid that can't read aloud in class. Number 3, during your 40-day passage, did you erupt with anger in any notable way? In particular, you might investigate the week Venus disappeared around January 2nd. So if you remember, if you listened to that episode or if you read the article, there was kind of like a story about Venus, or like, I'm a little confused on like who these characters were, but like Venus retrograde was like, I think it was like a goddess, I don't know, but she goes to the underworld where her twin evil sister is, and like the twin evil sister gets so mad and erupts with anger. So that energy of like anger could bring clarity, or like, you know, it's energy you're releasing. So then and in the story, like the anger actually propels the goddess from above to like go back there because of the energy. It's like, I mean, this sounds really confusing. I'll just link the article down below. But basically the point was you might have a moment of just like anger or just feeling really fed up with something, and then it's good to feel that and like get your anger and feelings out. Number 4, did you have a bright moment of clarity, a new realization? Perhaps this occurred around January 9th when Venus was conjunct the sun. Retrograde realizations, don't we all? Don't we all have them? Number 5, currently do you possess a new spirit or resolve going forward? Venus as the morning star is a war goddess. She's been on the march since January 15th. So let me know, how was your Venus retrograde, y'all? Because I feel like mine was just very much like, y'all know I'm single, and I just feel like during Venus retrograde I really just did not feel like talking to anyone or like entertaining anyone, and I feel like I ended a lot of things that I just felt like were no longer really serving me. So I don't know, like, let me know, were you in a relationship? Did you break up over Mercury retrograde? Did you reconnect with somebody? Did someone randomly pop into your mind that you hadn't thought about in years? I don't know. Let us know. But also Venus retrograde, like, it's not always romantic things. Venus is the planet of like love and beauty, but this could also be like financial things, beauty things. Like, did you get the urge to dye your hair a random color? I don't know. But yeah, so this is just a good time to think back on the last couple months again, since basically all of December, since there was the Venus shadow at the beginning and whatnot. But yeah, let's see like what we have learned moving forward. Same with Mercury retrograde. That's a little more common, I feel. It just happens usually multiple, like 3 times throughout each year, whereas Venus retrograde is I think I read it was every 18 months, so it's a little more like big of a deal. But Mercury retrograde, same thing. Did you realize anything? Like, yeah, I don't think I even pulled up an article for Mercury retrograde, but if you want to look that up, you can just look up like Mercury retrograde ending, reflections, things like that. Mercury's the planet of communication, as I'm sure most of you know. So now basically we can put a lot of things into action, maybe that we were planning throughout these retrogrades or whatever. So also, not only have these retrogrades come to a close this week, but it was also a new moon in Aquarius on the 31st. I think it depends on your time zone. And new moons are also a time of like new energy and putting your intentions out there, and it's really like that energy to go like move forward. Like, what do I want for this next lunar cycle, this next month? So we may be feeling this extra energy or push to move forward because it's like these retrogrades ending and also the new moon. Also, I think the new moon was the same day as the Lunar New Year, and I'm sure most of us can relate, even just through vibes, not even necessarily which calendar you follow. But in a lot of ways, I feel like January is not the actual start of the year, because I feel like it's more, like for me, traditionally, even if there's no retrograde or anything, I just always feel like it's a time of such reflection for me and like planning, envisioning what I want for this, the months ahead, the year ahead. And once that's over, and once we get to Aquarius season, end of January, February, that's when I really feel like we're actually living the new year instead of just like reflecting on the past year and like planning the new year and like, oh, I got to be on the grind. I know for me, I don't usually feel like going out in January. I don't, if I had to pick all the months out of the year, like which month do I date the least or like am most likely to be interested in someone new, it's definitely usually not January. It's just like been always, like even before I learned more about astrology and whatnot, like, yeah. So let's see, there was another article from mooncircles.com, the top 3 gifts of the Aquarius new moon. Call in Aquarius this month by breaking out of your box. Your inner genius is ready for a revolution. Anywhere you've been feeling stuck, If you're not living the life you want, fresh Aquarian thoughts could be sounding through your mind stream in the weeks ahead. Now is the time to listen for celestial messages, decode them properly, and reboot. Following are the top 3 ways Aquarius likes to awaken us at that time. So the first one was a cleanse, like a mental cleanse. Even though Aquarius is an air sign, it's called the water bearer, and that's because these weeks have strong historical ties to the cleansing, life-renewing qualities of water. For the earliest astrologers, the sun in Aquarius brought the rainy season when water poured from the heavens. It's when the Nile flooded, the fields were washed clean as life was renewed for another year. The Romans filled this month with rites of purification, followed by celebrations of the fertility goddess Februata as they prepared for spring. So it's... thought I was going to cough. No. It's not COVID. So yeah, that like we've done a reflection. Now it's time to wipe the slate clean, pour water over it, and get to the new. If your body has been feeling lethargic, your life is likely the same. Something inside may be calling you to get clean now for your rebirth ahead. The call to upgrade your life. You'll feel the urge for a better future. Aquarius is the cycle to upgrade your life, especially, with things like technology, gadgets. I was planning on getting a new phone, or I am planning on getting a new phone now that Mercury is out of retrogrades. So I might wait for the shadow period. I don't know. We'll just have to see. And then also the call to celebrate spring. And this was super relatable because basically they're talking about what do our bodies want to celebrate. In springtime, we want to party. We want our pleasure endorphins released in a festive communal way. So, think of the Super Bowl, just being around people, and having fun and things like that. That's why I really like air sign seasons, because it's just kind of like a relief. It's like, thank fucking God. Just like chill and be cute and like social and like whatnot. Obviously safely because it is a pandemic, but yeah. So I'll link those articles down below. There's definitely a lot more in there that I did not read. So if you're interested, yeah. And then I also found a article from Refinery29 about the new moon as well. The new year, new me vibes here will be extra powerful. So because the new moon is sandwiched between the direct turn of Venus and Mercury, this gives this lunation a potent energetic signature that will help us abandon the past and move into the future with more confidence. New moons always usher in new beginnings, and this particular one is supercharged with optimistic, forward-moving, change the world energy thanks to those 2 retrogrades coming to an end. Like, thank God. And bro, so sorry for all the cuts in this episode. I don't know if that's distracting. I feel like it would be for me. It's like either sirens, this camera will just shut off if it's recording for too long. So the unprofessional setup, but like we're making it work. She's a DIY queen. Ask yourself, what do you need to feel comfortable in your most authentic truth? When are you in your most authentic self? You are unstoppable. Is there a side of you that you think is weird or awkward? How can you invite this side to the table more? Armed with all parts of you, you can show up with bravery, courage, and conviction in service to the greater collective. What will propel you towards this new moon energy is not only to be yourself, but to embrace yourself. Socializing and brainstorming with others will always be at the top of our wants list this week. Progressive changes in our lives can happen now, and we should use the abundance of Aquarian energies to think bigger. Tried and true solutions may be a positive, but this is the time to look to the future for better, if not cutting edge types of solutions and ideas. And I really liked this. Be prepared for a rush of innovation and inspiration to hit you this week. Don't let these light bulb moments slip away and use them to your advantage. Love. So, bro, something I've just really been trying to remind myself, especially when I am feeling more anxious or just more down, which I just feel like has been so much more, probably because of the retrograde, but also, again, just the pandemic, bro, like, fuck, is like I have to actively remind myself this all the time. It's just that things always pass and life always moves in cycles. With that being said, like obviously, maybe not obviously to some, I don't know. But if you are constantly, I mean, because there's like that, okay, that helps me get through the day to day. But if you have like chronic anxiety or depression or like, things like that are a little more serious, like seek help. But then even, don't just like, I'll manifest it away. Like you can seek help. But even with that, like, I think just practicing hope, not to be like cheesy. Some words have just like been like hope. What a great word, and it's just, I just think of like something annoying. I don't know. Is that like weird of me? I don't know. Or like peace. Like sometimes the word peace is like so cringy. Is that like terrible to say? Sometimes, not all the time. Like I'm not like insane. It's not the meaning behind the word. It's just like sometimes something's so overused and it's just like, anyway. The hope that things can and will change and that you can be a better you and, not better necessarily in like the capitalism way of like being more successful. I want to make more money, even though, that's fine. But just like better as in maybe more peaceful in your day-to-day life, more relaxed, more, what's the word? Evened out, balanced. So just like reminding yourself of that. And I also think that's why having a strong community around you and like a support system is so important. Like even just in the first couple of days of like the Discord, just checking in with people and like, I don't know, even little things like people putting their morning beverages in here. Not that this is an ad to join my Discord, like I literally know. But just like experiencing that, I was like, wow, this really is like what community is. Because let me know if you relate, but sometimes, I don't know, especially throughout high school and whatnot, I just never really felt like I was part of something. Because like with school, I just never really felt connected to my high school. I feel like I never really had like a super solid group of friends. I just always kind of did my own thing. But then thinking, y'all know I love talking about 8th grade and how it was like the best year. I think one of my main Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde realizations was like that was a time in my life where I just felt probably the most community ever. And I wish I could go back and like give a speech at the school about this. But like, I think because if you don't know the classic story, my middle school burned down when I was in 6th grade, like literally a month into 6th grade, school burned down. And so they had to separate all the kids, like all the 6th graders went to this random elementary school, all the 7th graders went somewhere, and all the 8th graders went somewhere. And even though at the time, like I just didn't really, I mean, especially 6th and 7th grade, like they'd be like, oh, like we need to, even though we're not all in the same physical place, we still have our, school community and our pride, and like we're all in this together. And it was just like, yeah, whatever. But now looking back, reflecting, especially at 8th grade, the school had been rebuilt. We were like the oldest at the school. We had been through it. And now, it's like we got to be in this new building all together. I just feel like I had the best teachers, like all my friends. Like, I don't know, other people probably had different experiences, but I just really felt like a strong sense of community looking back. Like I just remember just with all my teachers and everything, and like certain classes would just be so fun because it's like so many people just seem to be on that same vibe. Like, I don't know. And I was telling this to my mom and she was like, that's so funny because I just remember you in 8th grade, like, especially towards the end of 8th grade, just being so over it. Like, oh my God, I just can't wait to get to high school. Like, oh my God, I'm just like so over this. So it's interesting, like how your perception of things changes as time passes. But yeah, community is important. And if you feel like you don't have a community, or like, how sometimes maybe you have like a thing, but sometimes I just feel like I don't have a thing. Like, I guess like, oh, YouTube has always been my thing, but that was never really something that like I would do with other people, So So if you don't feel like you have a community, bitch, join this community, bitch. You're part of this community. What is the community? Don't know. Baddies who like beverages. I don't know. But yeah, so it is possible, it is out there, and you can have that sense of like belonging, I guess. And okay, this is so cheesy, but like being accepted for who you really are, you know? Period. I'm gonna stick by that. Like, you know, sometimes you need to hear that. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on any of that, but that was just a really big realization for me because I never really like thought about it like that. Like, that's why I think a big reason why that year was just so great for me. Versus high school, just, it was such a stark contrast, like 8th grade versus 9th grade. 9th grade, so many of my friends had gone to a different school. I did feel very alone, isolated. I was, like, sad for a lot of freshman year, you know, just because I just, like, bitch, I already don't like changes, okay? And now you're gonna make this horrible? Anyway, community is important. Let's embrace it this Aquarius season and maybe ask ourselves, like, what would my ideal community feel like or be like, or like what kind of people do I want to surround myself with? Because you know that classic quote of like is that from like Pretty Little Wild? You become the average of like all the people you hang out with. Is that what their mom said? I think. But it's really true. So you just got to ask yourself, like, what are my values? What's important to me? And therefore, how can I attract people who also are on that same vibe or, like, can bring that out of me? You know? Also, I finished, kind of changing the subject, I finished All About Love. But that also had just so many great themes, you know, a lot about community and like the love that we just have for others, not even in a romantic way, but just like shared love. And like, yeah, I feel like I've honestly talked about the book so much. I honestly should have waited until I fully finished it, but I also kind of like doing the updates as I go along. So I don't know, but currently reading this book, I haven't really read that much the past couple of days because I was like busy bullshitting. But it's called Lying by Sam Harris, and it's a little bit more of a psychology book. But so far, did I not mark my page, bitch? Oh my god, I didn't. That's so annoying. Even just so far, in the first couple pages, it's a really quick read. If you're watching the video, you can see how small this book is. But it's just talking about lying, why we lie, and how truth is always the best way. Even when we think, you know, we're saving face, protecting someone's feelings, etc. Like they gave the example of like your friend asks you if they're a good singer, or like, oh, do I look fat in this? It's like, if you were true, and it's so hard to practice because, you know, I feel like we're just really taught to like be nice. If we are truly honest, if we truly care about someone's life, and like if we want to keep our integrity, you know, we will be honest. Like, yes, I don't think that looks good on you because I want you to choose something that does look good on you. Or like, no, I don't think you're the best. It's like so harsh, bro. I just can't imagine. But like, I mean, he's true, you know? There's something to be said about someone who is blatantly honest and not, I don't know, I feel like you don't have to be rude about it, but like, it's like you can trust that person. Like, I feel like, honestly, my mom is a great example of, like, someone who's always been really honest with me. Like, if something isn't that good, like, I think of, like, an essay that I would write for school, or, like, if something didn't look good on me, like, she would tell me. But then it's like I knew that I could trust her when she said something was good. Or, like, if I did a good job, like, it's like, okay, I actually know that I did. So there's that. So let me know what you think. I haven't really read that much of this book, but I do kind of like the vibe so far. And I got a library card, y'all. Update from last week's episode. And it was just such an experience. I grew up going to the public library. Like, that's where we lived. I would, like, not actually to confirm. But I would check out a whole bunch of books. Like, that was our thing. Like, my mom had to tell me and my sister to, like, relax on the amount of books that we would get. Never went to the library in LA because I don't know, I just didn't. And I finally was like, I'm kind of sick of buying all these books, especially because this year I really want to prioritize reading and reading more. And number one, I don't want to buy every book. Like, I just don't want to buy every book because I don't want to spend the money on something I may not even like. I think from now on, as much as possible, unless a book isn't available at the library or something, I'm only going to buy a book if I really, really like the book and think I will go back to it. Like, for example, books like Come As You Are, the sex book, to put it in the most simplistic terms, or like Why Does He Do That, the book about abusive men, books that, you can kind of go back to for reference and whatnot. And then obviously there's books that, you just love because they impacted your life, they make you feel good, etc. Like, that makes sense to buy a book. But if I'm like, why am I buying this random book that I don't even know? Like, I don't even know the vibes. Like, do we have a personal connection or not? Like, I don't know. So let me know what you're reading. And again, you can join the Discord. I want to get better at, like, posting updates of the books that I'm reading. And then also Goodreads, just so you can see a list. Again, I've said this before. I don't use Goodreads to write reviews. I will star a book because it gives you the option to, like, rate it out of 5 stars. But if you just kind of want to keep up with what I'm currently reading and what I've read in the past, you can follow me on there. And I do want to make a YouTube video about my favorite books. Y'all, I think I mentioned this in the last, I don't know. I've been doing a lot of lives recently, and I sit here, so sometimes I don't know if my memory is of recording a podcast sitting here talking about this or doing a live. I think it was a live, but I kind of want to change my channel. Not change, but kind of get back to the more helpful, like, informative, inspiring videos instead of the vlogs and the weekly vlogs, just because I've kind of found, and maybe honestly Vlogmas, like, burned me out a little bit. I've just kind of found that my life is not that interesting, and it was beginning to feel a bit of a chore to, like, vlog. Even the weekly vlogs where it's not like I have to get a vlog in one day and, like, the pressure's, like, really on. But I want to do things like, my productive morning routine and, like, books I've been reading and just things that actually would help someone. I mean, I know some of you say you get inspired by the weekly vlogs, and I love that. Like, thank you so much. But I want the vibe to be a little more specific and, like, pinpointed. Because I feel like everyone knows me as, like, the beverage, productive, wake up early and have a bev queen. It's kind of my brand. Like, people IRL know me as that. So I just kind of want to expand on that and, like, only do a vlog if I really, really am inspired to / am doing something interesting / memorable. Because otherwise it's like, bitch, we get it. Like, I do the same shit all the time. It's, like, not that interesting, and I just have not been liking them. Like, I'm not inspired. I'm just like, ew. So that's, like, my goal. We're gonna see. It definitely is hard to, like, do it all, like a podcast, and keep up with TikTok and Instagram. Also make good quality YouTube videos. Like, it's definitely a lot. And I just feel like I have been putting more time and energy into my podcast and, like, TikTok, honestly. Someone asked me what I did this weekend, and I said TikTok, which I've never said before because TikTok is not really my main platform, though I definitely wish it was. Anyway, okay, we get it. Okay, last topic. And I made a TikTok about this. Actually, let's take a sip of peppermint tea, bro. My throat is feeling a bit parched. Ugh. Okay. ASMR. Let's talk about it. Charles Gross commented on my TikTok, so you could say I'm winning. Okay, the word chuggy. Is it chuggy? Let's talk about it. But I made this TikTok saying, bro, the word chuggy is so annoying. Anyone who would say that in real life, I would make fun of them. Like, that's just so ew. And I didn't really expect anyone to say anything about it. I just kind of felt like ranting. But a few people in the comments were like, yeah, I agree. Like, it's rooted in sexism. Like, it's just a way for women to, like, feel bad about stuff that doesn't matter. And if you don't know, chuggy is this, like, trendy word. And also, this is what I learned by Googling it. A literal, okay, no offense also. Like, no offense. I would say this about anyone. But this random bitch made it up. Like, I guess I knew it was from TikTok, but it wasn't until I read this in black and white in the New York Times that I was like, oh. And she's like, yeah, like, I just wanted to think of a specific vibe. Also, I'm not trying to, like, make fun of her. But I just feel like the way that the word has kind of changed. Okay, well, I want to know your thoughts, but my thoughts. So if you don't know, cheugy is this word from TikTok that kind of describes something as, like, not trendy or, like, out of date or trying too hard. So, for example, like, the girl boss movement, or, like, what is it, Ray Dunn? You know, the, like, kitchenware with the really skinny font. It's like butter. Cheugy, or like blonde hair is cheugy. Skinny jeans are cheugy. Low rise used to be cheugy, but now it's coming back, so it's not cheugy. So for me, or no, this New York Times article said, actually, let's see. Actually, I don't know. Okay, I did a thing. I do hate that. Like, that grinds my gears. Somebody, basically this article, I can't find it, but someone made a TikTok that said it came from white girls as a way to describe other white girls, and it's kind of like white on white crime. It's like so funny. And like, oh, is it really harmful? I wish I could find the exact thing. I'll link these articles down below. Oh, yeah. She adds, it was at Rod. Internalized misogyny. According to her, this is just white girl on white girl crime. Nothing more, nothing less. The definition. Cheugy is anything that is stylish or was stylish in middle school and high school, but is no longer in style. The definition points to how locally, racially, and socioeconomically specific the word really is. If the metric here is what was once trendy in middle and high school, then what's cheugy for the class of 2014 is different from what's cheugy for the class of 2020. At best, this is a word specific to a group of people with a shared background, rendered useless once applied to other contexts. It is a word that describes how, quote-unquote, trendy young women look back on the trends they once embraced and question the people who still embrace them. So, on one hand, this is like kind of my internal dilemma, not internalized. Is it, like, it's a very fine line, I feel, between, like, describing an aesthetic and, like, cringing at something, and then, like, just putting people down for superficial reasons that, you know, a lot of the times do come down to, like, sexism, racism, classism, the isms, bro, like. And some things are just so internalized that we don't even realize it's that until we really, like, pause and are mindful and reflect. You know, like, why do I think this is, like, ew, it's so cringe. But then it's like, okay, well, it's like we're also allowed to not like something or, like, think something is out of style for us personally. Like, how much of it is personal style, and, like, what's the difference between that and categorizing styles or aesthetics versus, like, putting somebody down. And it's so sad. Like, have you ever seen those TikToks where, you know, it's like a young millennial would still be like, what's the age of, like, a young millennial? But, you know, like, a millennial woman, like, literally there was this specific woman who was like, guys, please help. Like, she was on a Gen Z journey. Like, she was probably late 30s, early 40s, I want to say, but she's, like, you know, trying to give herself a makeover. Like, oh, okay, you guys told me to do a middle part instead of a side part. Like, what else should I do? Oh, you guys told me to do my makeup like this, so what? And, like, no shade, no tea. Like, you know, if that's what you want to do, that works for you. Perf, great. But it's also kind of like, I don't know, something about it just felt off to me. And not necessarily about the individual, but just, like, as a concept, like, just the whole way that our patriarchal society, it glamorizes youth. People always like, oh, I just want to go back to how I looked at 18. And it's like, oh, once you turn 25, you're like a slow decline. And it's like, why why are we putting so much emphasis on how we look, and why do we want to be younger? I'm still pretty young, so maybe I just like don't really have the right to say yet, but like I just feel like I always cringe so much at my younger self, and like I don't know, I just remember going to the club. This is where I really like saw it. And there was these girls that were probably under 21, but they were just like so excited to be there, and like I mean, they had like really good vibes, like really sweet vibes, but I just was kind of sitting there like, damn, I feel old. Like this is not that I was like not having a good time or anything, but I was just like, this is not like special to me. Like they're probably like, wow, we just moved to LA at the age of like 18 or 20 or something. Like they definitely they looked under 21. And we're in this club in Hollywood, and it's just like so exciting. And I was like, damn, that like kind of used to be me, and now it's not. And it's like, I wouldn't go back to that, you know? So I don't know. A lot is about just like embracing who you are now, and like just because someone else thinks something is chuggy or cringy or out of style, like that doesn't mean you have to think that. And like, yeah, it's okay to have your own personal taste, and like if you like, you're allowed to think something's cringy, but like to put someone down because they disagree or they still participate in the trend, whatever, like it's like, okay, you're kind of stepping out of your own lane, bro. Like you don't have to wear that or get that pottery, but like, but then also part of me is like, bro, how serious really is this? Like, again, it is very white girl on white girl crime. And like sometimes it's just fun to make fun of stuff, period. Like not everything has to be so serious, but it does kind of make you wonder. And I do kind of cringe every time I hear the word, just because it's not like my word. Because y'all know I definitely get in habits of like saying certain words like over and over. I love when the camera stops again. And maybe just because this is not like one of my words, it's just like a little unrelatable to me, and I hate it. But yeah, so I would love to know your thoughts. That is pretty much all I have to talk about this week, y'all. I'm going to the dentist tomorrow. I'm super scared, so I'm just trying to like get my mind off of that and relax. Please pray for me. By the time this podcast is up, I will have already done it. So hope and pray. They haven't. Go to the dentist, y'all. We were talking about this in the Discord too, but if you haven't gotten a cleaning in the past 6 months, go get that. Get your x-rays. Fuck, it's so terrible, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And we want a healthy smile, and the longer you wait, the worse it's gonna get. Love you guys so much. Thank you for listening. I would love to hear all your thoughts in a comment below, or in a DM, or on the Discord. Again, I'll link that down below, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye, everyone.